Deep in the heart of Ohio's Cuyahoga Valley lives a living history museum known as Hale Farm and Village. This village, operated by the Western Reserve Historical Society, allows guests to explore 19th century life in the Western Reserve. The land includes 32 historic structures and is hosted by costumed interpreters who provide a look into daily life on the farm. A farm that is said to be haunted. Today we look at 4 structures on Hale Farm, discover each building's history, and uncover first-hand accounts from current and former employees who say these buildings host spirits who refuse to pass on to the next life. So if you're curious, let's take a walk through haunted Hale Farm and Village. The Jonathan Hale House is the original home to this farm. The family moved from Glastonbury, Connecticut, and originally lived in a log cabin for 15 years before Jonathan had made enough bricks by hand to build the house that stands today. The home was completed in 1827, the same year the Ohio and Erie Canal reached Akron, giving the Hales the opportunity to manufacture bricks for sale using the canal as the means to move the goods. This 3-story brick house was one of only 2 all-brick buildings in the Cuyahoga Valley at the time of its construction. The Hale family lived in the house for about a year when Jonathan's first wife died. This is documented in the Hale diaries. It was apparently her job to milk the cow daily, and when she took ill to her bed upstairs, Jonathan recorded that he brought the cow inside the house and up this narrow staircase so that she could milk the cow for him from what was soon to be her deathbed. Is it this treatment of Jonathan's wife that causes her to haunt the building today? Employees feel the odd sensation of being watched from around the corner by a being who remains unseen. One employee was feeling these unseen eyes when suddenly a cold chill moved through the room and ran right through her. Some believe this chill was merely a draft from a hidden door leading to a spring room where a natural spring runs under the house. But this employee is certain it was the entity making its presence known. And as we know, water is an excellent conductor for spirit activity. Another instance occurred when a school group was in the house and asking about ghosts. Just as the interpreter told them there were no ghosts on the farm, a large clump of the old horsehair insulation fell from the ceiling and landed on the student's shoulder, resulting in screams of terror. Was this merely a coincidence or confirmation of the presence of spirits in the Hale House? The Jagger House is named for its first owner, Clement Jagger, who was a prominent carriage maker in Bath Township. Mr. Jagger's lavish income allowed for the construction of a handsome Greek Revival-style house in 1845. By the time the house was built, the Ohio and Erie Canal had transformed the local economy and raised the overall standard of living and the availability of goods and fine luxury items. In 1962, the Jagger House was relocated a short distance to Hale Farm, but almost immediately, employees started noticing an oppressive atmosphere at the house, an atmosphere that fostered negative emotions for anyone who stayed in the building too long. In 2010, an employee ventured upstairs in the Jagger House, an area normally closed off and not shown to visitors. She discovered someone had drawn a pentagram on the floorboards of a bedroom. Could this be the reason for the oppressive atmosphere that plagues the house? There are some employees who refuse to work at the Jagger House. One former employee was quick to tell their account of the oppressive feel of the house, saying the most frightening house at Hale is by far the Jagger House. This house itself hates. You walk in and it feels like the house would just drop down on you if it could. I hated to work in that house, even during the day, and whoever worked there would become hateful the entire day. You just could not help it. If you stayed in the house for just a few minutes, you just hated everything and everyone. People that worked in the house together would be arguing constantly. Perhaps this malevolence is the reason Hale Farm keeps the door to the Jagger House open, allowing you to peer inside, but keeps the entrance blocked, hoping to keep visitors and staff safe from the hate within. The Herck House was built in 1845 by Jonathan Herck, an early settler of Twinsburg, Ohio. Jonathan, along with his wife and children, lived in the dairy farmhouse until 1898. In 1974, the house was listed on the National Register of Historic Places and offered to the Western Reserve Historical Society by a Herck family descendant. There are reported sightings of a male apparition in the house, as well as reports of objects moving of their own accord. And then there is the first-hand encounter a former employee had one night during an evening supper program held in the home. The evening supper program was a 3-hour-long historical immersion event where a small group of visitors would pay to have a meal at Hale Farm, with costumed interpreters portraying different time periods. Late into the evening, an employee needed a break. She excused herself to the back of the house and snuck into the attached woodshed behind the dairy kitchen to have a smoke and regroup. She sat on the floor of the woodshed in the dark with the very back door to the shed cracked open to vent the smoke. It was quiet as the visitors and the rest of the staff were in the front rooms of the house. Suddenly, from directly behind her, came a loud, ghostly moan in a deep male voice. She nearly jumped out of her skin. She flung open the door to see who it was, assuming it was her co-worker having some fun. She was both astonished and petrified to see that her co-worker was still on the other side of the house, standing by the front door, talking to a visitor. No one else was anywhere near her. Items being moved in the Herck House seemed to be routine. Reports of employees coming into work to find all the chairs in the formal parlor pulled out and rearranged are not unusual. Whenever things move like this in the night, employees know to ask one another if any other staff had been on site after hours. Most often they find there is no logical explanation. Another employee heard what sounded like the front door opening, but no one was there. The event was so real that she swears she heard a person walk up to the closed door, the latch lift and fall, and the door open and close. She went to look at who had let themselves in and was shocked to discover no one was there. Then there was the occasion when the employee was chatting with a guest about spirit activity in the house. At some point, the guest politely interrupted mid-sentence and said, "I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, but do you sing in the upstairs bedroom? The spirits are saying that they like it." The employee was stunned because she did occasionally sing in the house, but was always afraid of being heard by approaching visitors or other staff members who might tease her. Because of this, she had started singing while in the upstairs master bedroom, so there would be less chance of others hearing. To her, this was a sign there was something to the haunts after all. Then there is the chair sitting next to the downstairs bedroom. This chair is said to be the favorite chair of a female spirit who haunts the main floor and doesn't like anyone else sitting on it. A Hale Farm employee found that out the hard way. She had been sitting on the chair, relaxing, before it was time for her to change into her period outfit, an outfit that had a hoop skirt designed to keep others at a distance. While wearing this outfit, she was kicked in the leg by an unseen force. Presumably payback from the first floor spirit, upset that her favorite chair was used without permission. The Goldsmith House, named for the man who designed and built the home, was moved to Hale Farm in 1973 from Willoughby, Ohio. The house was built for William Peck Robinson, his wife Caroline, and their 4 children. Mr. Robinson, who owned several mills, a sizable farm, and was a man of considerable means, died before construction was complete, leaving Caroline and the 4 children to run the home. But issues surrounding property ownership and the legal rights of women to oversee the guardianship of their own children made life difficult for the Robinsons, and Caroline was forced to give up much of the land her husband worked so hard to obtain. In the 1840s, Caroline turned the home into a boarding house, and there are rumors that sometime later, the home became a brothel. This is one of the more actively haunted sites on Hale Farm property, with tales of a strained, uncomfortable atmosphere on the 2nd floor, and the sound of disembodied footsteps that are attributed to Caroline. It soon became commonplace for employees to sing the song Mrs. Robinson to show good intentions and have the spirit leave them alone. Some employees continue this tradition to this day. But it seems the spirit of Mrs. Robinson may not be the only spirit to haunt the Goldsmith House. In 2001, an employee had to finish dressing her hair in one of the downstairs side bedrooms. While braiding her hair, she felt a man step up to her left shoulder, as though he was standing with his face right next to hers, hovering in her personal space, leering at her. Another incident is attributed to a former employee who saw a shape in an upstairs bed as though some invisible presence was lying in it. The bed instantly sprang back to normal, as if the ghost were roused from its nap. One night, 2 employees were locking up the site. One employee was fumbling to get a key to turn in a tricky lock on an exterior door. Suddenly, she shrieked. The second employee came running over and asked what had happened, and was told that the key had suddenly turned in her hand, as though someone else was turning it. On October 26, 2024, Hale Farm is hosting its All Hales Eve event. As night falls, the historic village transforms into a haunted haven filled with ghostly tales, chilling legends, and spine-tingling encounters of the Western Reserve. Visitors can grab a craft beer and embark on a haunting journey through the village's darkest corners. Go to WRHS.com for more details. I'm sure it will be a fantastic time for all those who dare into the hauntings of Hale Farm and Village. Thank you for watching, folks. I'll see you next time as we explore more curious history. Happy Halloween.